Kyle, great to have you on the podcast.
Thanks, Sharon. Nice to see you.
First time coming on the show, so would love to quickly hear about your background and then give us a quick overview of bonus homes, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so it's funny. My background and the bonus homes kind of align. My background, I kind of fell into the mortgage space in my late teens by my father, in essence, indirectly. I wanted to go do M&A in Wall Street, but I ended up doing mortgages. Long story short, in the early 2000s, all the way up to the crash, rode that wave and built some scalable mortgage companies, and did the whole gamut, which was pretty amazing. Originated loans, finding them. We had direct to consumer. So we did all the different channels. So I learned kind of the end to end process. I ended up becoming an underwriter that was endorsed by HUD, like an FHA underwriter to underwrite FHA loans. And then I just got really good at the mortgage process. And what I mean by that is just understanding the whole end to end of it, because mortgage is extremely complicated, right? After 2000, I got fascinated with technology. I've always been fascinated with technology. So I started to kind of learn how to code. Took a couple of years off, obviously, kind of let the dust settle with just what was going on in the world. But my goal was to really, and one of my mentors, said, look, you should help figure out ways to change the mortgage industry. And so I've always just had that nugget in me to do something for, purpose over profit, in a sense, if I could. And I started to learn how to code so I can really automate the mortgage process, because it was just so manual. And I knew too much to just sit on the sidelines and not do anything about it. And started a company called Cloud Virga, got into the software space where we basically white labeled. At the time, the whole Rocket, get click button, get mortgage was coming out. And they did a good job. It was a front facing, nice marketing tool. But what was happening was a lot of these lenders who didn't have the Rocket budget, banks, lenders, credit unions, mortgage companies, non-bank lenders, they needed some solutions and stuff. And this kind of fell in line with my vision of automating the process and then reducing the cost to produce, making it easier for you and I to get a mortgage, but also to make it easier for the back end, because mortgages are expensive. So did that. We would sell it, the technology white label to lenders. We had 10 of the top 30 lenders in the country using our platform. We were doing a quarter of a trillion in volume coming through the platform every year for a couple of years, right? Especially in the heydays. This was now 2020, 19, 2021, and so forth, where I think everyone was refinancing 9 times. Sold that company in 2021. Did the whole process during COVID. Sold it. I did the whole process on Zooms. It was radical, right? Had some bankers, and it was. I think I was like the first one that went through this process completely on Zoom, because typically you roadshow and all those things, but it was literally this for every day for 6 months. So that was an interesting experience. The whole concept of bonus. So after that, what I did actually was my friend and business partner, separate, we started a venture fund. So we kind of became quote unquote venture capitalists, but founder led, right? It was mainly our own capital, but it was also, small funds, but it was really more we were getting a bunch of inbound from founders who are saying, hey, you raised a lot of capital. How'd you do it? What'd you do? What are the things? Because when you build a company, I'm a 0 to 1 guy. When you build a company, those first few years are critical. And, you need to be smart with the small amount of money that you do have. And so we ended up getting in that space, and we funded about 30 companies, predominantly angel seed round. And we've been doing that, which has been great. And so that's given us a huge kind of arena of other industries other than finance and housing to really start just seeing how really founders are changing the world, which has been pretty amazing. Did that. And bonus, now it's come fast forward. Bonus is something I've been thinking about since 2010. And it really started with my father, which was this specific scenario. He had to sell his home in 2010 he was trying to sell it for about 580. And he didn't want to sell it. But in order to access his equity, he had no other choice, because he can't rent his property out unless he leaves his equity in there. So he's stuck there. And the only thing he can do is sell. And that's what millions of people, that's what they do. They have to sell in order to move on. And my dad knows 2 things that a lot of people don't know. Number one, you actually can get a mortgage on a new primary residence and turn your property into a rental. So that's something that's a common practice for people who know mortgage and whatnot do it. A lot of people don't know that. They think you can only have like one mortgage at a time. That's not true. Number two, my dad also knew something very powerful, which a lot of people know, is homes are an appreciating asset. They're one of the most predictable wealth generators ever created. And if he had an ability to hold on to this asset longer than that time frame, he knows he would make much more. Fast forward to 2020, 2021, he's like, hey, this house is now 1.1 million. I missed out on all of that wealth. And my dad's in the 70s and he doesn't have that money and, doesn't have a lot, unfortunately. How many people in society today are forced, not forced because of an issue, but forced because they need to move? They have kids. They just want to relocate. A million of reasons why we want to move. Why is selling the only solution? And that was really the problem we were going after, right? Now there's cool companies out there that cash offer, all these things out there, buy before you sell. Those are fine, but they're all constructs of you getting rid of an appreciating asset just to access your equity. So bonus is basically, solving for that. And in a high level, what we created over the past several years is a new financial category called a Home Appreciation Partnership. It's a HAP, HAP. And really what it does is at the core is it's really helping these people with these low rates. By the way, we had 2020 and 2021, which you've had the lowest rates in human history, and you got 80% of the country have a mortgage that are under 5%. And you've got this lock-in effect that you hear all about, where people don't want to leave because they're giving up a 3%. They're going to go to a 6, right? Now, some of those people can afford to go to a 6, but they don't want to leave this 3. Why would you? Right? It's like, I want to give this up and now you're going to give it up. So now what we're doing is what we created is the ability to allow you to cash out all your equity as if you sold it. What bonus does is bonus then turns your home into an investment property, an asset, right? With low cost of capital, a la 3% mortgage, that is fixed, that now you benefit from, Jared, as a homeowner. So as an example, I'll give you a real life example. We did a house for a lady, $400,000 home. She has a $250,000 mortgage at 3%, whatever it was, 3.5, low. She's like, I know this house is going to be worth more. Surprise, Arizona. Okay, market's growing. And she's like, I know this house is going to be worth more in the next 10, 15 years. I know it's going to be double. I know it. And she's right. Doesn't know when, but she knows it's going to be worth more. So she got her 150,000 out from bonus in 2-3 weeks. No, not debt. There's no interest rate. There's no payment on it. So it's an investment that bonus makes. She moved out. Bonus now turns her property into a rental, manages it completely. She doesn't pay for anything. So she is a landlord, but doesn't have to deal with the pain of a landlord. You know that process?
This is so interesting.
Yeah, and then I'll just high level and I'll shut up. So now we've managed her home for a year and a half. We've had tenant come in, fixed the leaky roof, replaced an HVAC, did these things that we need to do, right? The wear and tear. She never hears from us. She doesn't pay for anything. This is truly a passive investment for her. She's going to now be lined up for getting 1/3 of all of the appreciation that this asset can generate just by having time allow her to build wealth. And then along the journey, bonus is managing this property fully. And then we share in the upside on this new sale. Right? When this house is, let's say, 9 years, she can decide to sell it. Remember, she owns it still. This is the key. We don't own the property. Okay. We're not some big bad corporation buying a house. We are literally powering the homeowner. She still owns it. So in 9 years, let's say the house is worth, I don't know, 700 grand. In 12 years, it's worth 800 grand, whatever. She's now going to make 33% of the difference between 800,000 and 400,000. So that's an extra $130,000 of newfound wealth that she never would have done on top of the 150 I gave her in 2023. Right? So now she just created a retirement account covering her most valuable asset, her home, and it didn't cost her anything other than just waiting for time and allowing bonus to manage this on her behalf. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you eliminated regret from people who have to sell early
Yeah.
through this model.
That's right. That's a great way to.
Yeah, because I mean, you hear it all the time. Man, if I didn't sell my place
Yeah.
5 years ago,
Yeah.
it's like, but you did,
We
right?
we tell people all the time, and you hear this, right? We tell people like, go back to your childhood home. whether you owned it or not, your family owned it or not, go Google it, go on Zillow, Redfin, whatever, Realtor, and just even though those values are off, they're not really accurate values. But just go look at what the house is today, or look at the last chain of when the house was sold within the last couple of years, and see what the amount is. And if it is not at least double, I would be shocked, right? And you're right, it's regret, and that's what we're trying to do, right? And this isn't for everybody. Meaning, right now we're very selective on the homes we're doing it. We're really trying to focus on homes below $500,000. We're trying to focus on people who don't have the opportunity to hold on to the home and leave their equity in and go buy something else, right? Because I mean, like, be honest, like, wealthy people, they can do whatever they want with the house because they've got disposable cash to go do something. They can keep it as a rental, they can do it as an Airbnb, they can make it a second home. But for majority of the people out there, they need this equity for a myriad of reasons, and it's locked up, right? And so, like, why not access all of it and be able to do it? So
And from your perspective, I'm sure most of these are single family homes in probably fairly desirable like areas that you could put a rental.
that's exactly right. You nailed it. And what we're looking at, so we're like, we love Phoenix. I personally moved to Phoenix from, I was in Southern California, which is not a great place for rental homes per se, but I was in Southern California. I moved to Phoenix, and I'll tell you, it is unbelievable. I mean, there's so much going on over there. So we're in markets like Surprise, Buckeye, Glendale, Peoria, Chandler, all around the Phoenix metropolitan, Maricopa County. We're in Nashville. We're in Memphis. Memphis is a great one. People wouldn't have thought that Memphis is a good one. We're in Birmingham. We're in Charlotte that we're doing. We're in parts of Ohio like Cincinnati and Columbus. These are all areas, if you think about it, that we believe, and with the data, and these are areas where there's a lot of migration coming in, and a lot of jobs being created. You're looking at like what, folks like, these plants that are happening in Arizona. You're looking at what's happening in Ohio with some of the defense companies kind of going in there. So we're kind of skating to where we think the puck is going, in a lot of these communities out
I like Phoenix. I've only been once. I went to there was a conference out there. Oops. I think my mic might have
there. Yeah,
cut out.
all good.
It was like in the middle of like the desert, like off of downtown. It was on like this.
And probably an Indian reservation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It was and I just remember at night, it was what was it? I think it was at a Sheridan, the
yeah,
conference.
yeah.
They had like just light music playing at the lowest, like, and you felt like I felt like I was being haunted in the middle of the night because all the time it would just be buzzing with little noise like around you. It's like, oh man. But it was so beautiful to wake up like in the
It's
desert in
great.
the morning. Oh,
It's great. I mean, it's interesting, right? Because I personally think that there's no there from a weather standpoint, I'm a little biased. Orange County in Southern California, there's no better place in my opinion. However, in Arizona, we're getting a lot more rain in California. I do think things are changing. I've lived there since I was 82. I've lived in Southern California, and I'll tell you, for a lot of people, including the people in California, weather is changing. It's getting colder and it's getting rainier longer over there. I mark my word. But Arizona, other than, this past 2 months of like 110-degree weather, and it's dry, by the way, Arizona is sunny. Like, there's never a cloud. Um, other than this dust storm that just went through yesterday. But there's never really bad weather for 9 months out of the year, right? And so, it's a beautiful place. And so, again, we're seeing a lot of people go there. A lot of people go to Arizona. We're seeing a lot of people go to Texas. We're seeing a lot of people go to Vegas and Henderson. So, that's kind of what we're trying to do. But you're right. We're looking at single family homes, homes that we can rent out to families. So a family is renting out from a family versus a family renting out from possibly a corporation buying the house, right?
yeah. I like this a lot. And then obviously your business model is are you also getting something in the short term for the rental?
Yeah, yeah. So when we take the rental income and we pay out all the expenses from the rental income, homeowner insurance, taxes, mortgage, HOA, any of that stuff, all that's coming from the rental income on behalf of the homeowner.
Really cool. All right, and then you get the remaining. They get like 33 like
Yeah, we get
33.3.
yeah. So we said two thirds, one third for doing nothing and spending nothing, right? And here's the reason why consumers actually, we've talked to so many people about this, and when it clicks, it clicks. There's two types of people, and this is nothing wrong. There are people who are just, no matter what, right? They're just like, I just want to be done with the house. You're gonna have those. I don't want it. I don't want to be done and whatnot. But there's a lot of people when you hear this, and look, we're new, and so we have to build trust and awareness, right? This is why it's like, I like saying spreading the gospel, because people have to trust us. Now we've raised a lot of capital, but we're early, right? Remember the early days of Uber. Uber didn't have $5 billion right away. You know, you had people, they needed to build trust for people to get into these cars with random drivers, and they needed to trust the random driver that they were going to be smart and they were going to be good, right? Same thing with Airbnb. Early days of anything that's new, you're going to instill fear of the unknown, right? And you're always going to have people who are just going to say, one or the other. I always tell people, it's so funny. I tell people, like, there's millions of people, tens of millions of people out there who hate Apple iPhones. They love Android, and vice versa, right? But Apple's still a $3 trillion company, right? And so the point is, you're not going to solve for everybody. Housing is a massive industry, right? But when people get it and they realize that, wow, yes, I know for my kids, if I can get an extra 50 to 250 to $300,000 of new wealth for doing nothing for my kids who are now 6 and 7, and by the time that happens, they're in their early 20s, and I have something set for them that I don't have to worry about. I'll do anything to do that. And now we're just giving people the opportunity to do it.
Apple's also been able to do something that's like almost unheard of. There's so many people that hate Apple, but still use
Use
Apple
it.
for everything because it's so hard to switch over.
100%. Yeah. And so that's really what it is. And again, nothing wrong. I mean, there's both ways. My close family friend, she's from Louisiana. She's like my mom, and she's known me since I was 10 years old. No matter what, she doesn't like debt. And she's like, I love the concept, she tells me, but she's like, I would never do it. And this is someone who knows knows me. She wouldn't do it just because she just doesn't want it, right? She doesn't want to carry it for later on. But she knows she's missing out on all this upside because she's seen her house, and now she's starting to come around. She's like, wow, I sold that house. They had a property. It's fascinating. They had a property they sold for $820,000. This is California, so it's a little different. $820,000 like 10 years ago. That house is now 2.2 million, right? And so she's looking at it and she's just like, yeah, I probably should. It's okay to actually hold on to a property. But we want to try to get ahead of it, so before people, it's too late, and then 10, 15 years, your life goes down, and then all of a sudden this, life happens and this happens. And the last thing I will say this too, which is we also help people, and this is probably one of my favorite parts, who are behind on their mortgage, right? Who just had life circumstances, life situation. We had a person, a great guy, unfortunately lost his other half, right? He's falling behind on his payments. He had this low rate. He knows this house is gonna be worth more, but he just needed a break. He needed to get out of the house, and he was on the verge of foreclosure and stuff, right? Because he wasn't making the payments. We were able to bonus his home. He was able to take his money. He's now traveling abroad to just recollect, and bonus is managing this asset. He's not going to lose this home, and now his house is going to be, his credit will get better over time, and he now has an asset just because life happened, right? We all have calamities in life, and it doesn't mean you should be down and out, right? It's like this gives you an opportunity to be like, wow, yeah, it's like, I lost my job, I had something happen, but I don't need to just mess up my entire future and get rid of this asset that's going to be so valuable. And so bonus is helping people in those situations as well, that in 5, 10, 15 years from now, when, even though right now the world looks really glim, in 5, 10, 15 years, they're going to look back and be like, wow, I'm glad I did this. I can't believe I have this much equity in my house now.
I love it. Kyle, this is super cool. Thank you
Thanks, Jared.
for
Appreciate it.
doing what you're doing, and I
Thanks.
look forward to following along this
Yeah,
journey.
please do. Yeah, appreciate it.
Best of luck to you and the team, and I'm a fan.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you. Thanks for taking the time.